shining star in the digital public infrastructure area is because India is the first country to have developed all the three foundational DPIs. Okay, so India DPI or IDPI, short for this. Formerly it was earlier known as India Stack, so if you have heard this term. So now this India Stack is known as IDPI. India Stack is just the collection of digital products and solutions which form the digital infrastructure. So stack is just a term used again in the digital lingo for a collection of digital products and solutions. Okay, so India Stack or IDPI, that is what we're going to learn right now. This has already developed, so we have already developed all the three foundational DPI. So let's just see. The first is digital identification, and this is of course done via UID, which is the unique identification number, which is called Aadhaar. Aadhaar is a 12-digit unique identity number that is assigned to residents of India, and it's based on biometric and demographic details of individuals. Right? So every individual has a unique 12-digit number that is called Aadhaar. So Aadhaar is issued by the Unique Identification Authority of India, this forms the first base, which is digital identification. Now the second pillar of real-time payment, this is done via the UPI or the Unified Payment Interface. The UPI is operated by the National Payment Corporation of India. This actually also operates a lot of other systems like the immediate payment system, which is the IMPS. Okay, like the RuPay are also operated by NPCI, and UPI is actually the one with the largest base. It's the largest among all three. And UPI is actually an improvement over IMPS. So IMPS is already used for interbank transfers, but it requires an internet banking or mobile banking. UPI, on the other hand, simplifies this electronic transfer of money even further. It makes it even smoother. So now you can have all your banks, the information and all the accounts on one mobile app, one UPI app, which can be of any bank. So it is interoperable. It can be of any bank, and you can make all kinds of. You can use a lot of financial services, a lot of banking services, and you can also make merchant payments. So that's UPI. And the third one is the data sharing solutions. Data sharing solution is achieved by what are called account aggregators or AA. So what are account aggregators? The account aggregator is a framework that facilitates the sharing of financial data between regulated entities. So these entities are of two types. The first type is the financial data providers or FDPs, and the other is the financial data users, FDUs. So these are generally the end consumers like you and me, and these are the banking and non-banking, basically the financial institutions. So the RBI has approved the AA to be kind of non-banking financial company. And the purpose of AA is to facilitate this information transfer between these entities. And there are two important components in this transfer. So this will be a real-time data transfer, like most of the things in the digital world, a real-time transfer of financial data between FDPs and FDUs. And two important things are most crucial in this transfer. The first one second. The first one is that it will be in a data blind manner. What this means is that all the financial data that will be flowing through AI will be encrypted. Okay, and the second is explicit consent. So if you are using my data and giving it to someone else, and AA is required to seek explicit consent from the one whose data it is. Okay, so AA will facilitate movement of financial data in real time in an encrypted manner and with explicit consent. Between whom? Between FDPs and FDUs. So some of the AA that are approved by RBI, some of the top names, if you may have heard them, they are CAMS, FinServ. Then you have Agya Technology Private Limited. You also have Cookie Jar Technology Private Limited. So these are all companies now that have come up in the AA domain. These are account aggregators. Now we have this foundation. We have the internet, web and browser foundation, and above that we have the foundation of Aadhaar, UPI and account aggregator. Okay, based on this foundation, an entire system of DPI has now come up in India. So you already know them. You already know eKYC, you know eSign, DigiLocker, you have DigiYatra. So these are all digital products and they use the basic foundational infrastructures, the digital identification, payment and information exchange, data exchange. Then you have, in the area of health, you have CoWIN, you have Arogya Setu, right? Then you have the GEM portal, the government e-marketplace. This is something that is very useful for MSMEs, the micro, small and medium enterprises. Okay, so each of these serve their own function and the basic foundation is of the three foundational DPI. So now let's move to discussing the benefits of DPI, and we'll do that using specific examples from like hypothetical examples which correspond closely to our daily lives. So let's get to the benefits. Let's start with Aadhaar. Now Aadhaar is something that is providing digital identification to everyone. So Aadhaar, which is the starting point, this can be linked to other documents, right? And it can also be linked to bank accounts. Now this linkage, what is it doing? It is providing, first of all, it is providing a seamless way for authentication. So if your Aadhaar is verified, if your Aadhaar is issued and you use it to link your bank accounts, it's providing a more seamless way for authentication and for know your customer, the KYC processes, which is, so now that becomes the eKYC. And you can also approve your signature and use the eSign. So with this digital connect, what you have is reduction of time and effort in the first phase. Then again, this link that already exists, this infrastructure can readily be used by the UPI apps and the banks, right? It can be used, so if anyone who has an Aadhaar and that Aadhaar is linked to the bank account, payments can be made. Payments can be made via UPI, payments can be made via banks, because already the authentication and the KYC process is complete. Okay. Also, linking to other documents now is also, so you can just link your Aadhaar to other documents and then store them in DigiLocker, and you can access them whenever required. Now, the fact that if your DigiLocker approves of addition of a document based on Aadhaar, that means that it's verified, right? So verification at every step is not required. Once you show any authority or anyone a document from the DigiLocker, further verification is not required, because that is already done by this linkage and by this infrastructure. Okay. Similarly, the UPI that uses here, they are providing you with multiple banking services. They're also providing you with merchant payments, and all at the ease of one mobile bank. And the interoperability is taken to the next level here. Again, this kind of interoperability at the bank level is then done by the account aggregator. Okay, so for example, imagine that you in your portfolio, suppose you have 2 bank accounts in different banks, and you also have taken a loan from a third bank, and you have invested in a mutual fund, and you have made another investment in the stock market. So as for tax purposes or for your own purposes, for tracking your income, you will need to track the movements in all these things, right? So you will need to track your bank account, your loan account, your mutual fund, your shares, right? Now, if you take the services of an account aggregator, right? So this account aggregator will, of course, with your consent, collate all this information, right? So it will collate the information. It will give you the the statements and all of these, right? So it will also give you periodic or regular updates. So it will keep track of your bank account, the balance there, the ins and the outs. Similarly, the loan, how much has been paid, what kind of installment is required, and so on. What is the interest payment? What is the, say, installment to be paid in MF? What is the interest earned? And similarly, how your account in the, say, the Demat account is moving. So again, all this is using the basic infrastructure of data sharing, which the AA has been providing. Banks are a part of it. Already 8 major banks are part of this AA framework, and they share data, they share your data with your consent and provide you with a more seamless experience. And the chances of, so of course it increases transparency, it reduces effort, increases efficiency, and the chances of making mistakes is reduced. Okay. Then with the pandemic, it also became clear that we will need the DPI in the health sector as well. So using the CoWIN and the Arogya Setu, the government was able to provide and to track the vaccination, the vaccine administration. So what did these use? These already used the Aadhaar numbers that were issued to a large, to almost all the residents of India, and using that infrastructural base, all you needed to do was to track those people, contact those people, and administer, and then store the information, keep track of the information, first dose, second dose, the time of the dose. It would also remind you when to take the next dose. It would fix the appointments. It will tell where you can take the dose. Okay, so all your data will be stored there. You don't have to keep track of the documents. You don't have to keep track of the dates. This app will do everything for you because it has the data, it has the infrastructure ready. And again, This app, the Arogya Setu, would let you, so if you have the vaccination certificate, you could show it, you don't again have to carry it. The entire infrastructure, the data is available, and this data is reliable because because of the underlying infrastructure. So using the Arogya Setu, if you are vaccinated, you can show your vaccination certificate, and you can use it for traveling, you can use it for accessing various public spaces and so on. Okay, so with these, what we have done is we have achieved interoperability, we have achieved scalability. What was done at a small scale, for example, say the Jan Dhan Trinity, right? So once you have your Aadhaar, and once the Aadhaar has been linked to bank accounts, the Jan Dhan bank accounts have been opened, and people have Aadhaar, so authentication can be done, KYC can be done, and people have mobile, so mobile updates can be received, right? Combination of this infrastructure, you can easily transfer financial support to the vulnerable population. Another one is the GEM. So GEM is the e-marketplace, the digital marketplace. What it does is, it is providing access to large number of micro, small and medium enterprises. Now these are small scale enterprises. It's often difficult for them to produce at a scale that you take them to the market, and then the price that the market provides it's often not profitable for them to do it, right? So this is one of the reasons why the MSMEs are suffering badly. If they have an e-marketplace where they can sell their products, immediately this improves their growth prospects, right? So as you can see, via various ways, once you have the base ready, you can use it to develop various digital products and solutions, and then use it to deliver the public services and the private services better to the existing consumers. You can expand your consumer base to reach people who are more and more vulnerable, to reach women, to reach the backward populations, and also with consent-based data sharing, you are also building a framework for data protection. Okay, we will talk more about it when we are talking about challenges. We'll talk briefly about it, but it's important to have a framework that is compatible with consent. And finally, to improve inclusivity, the India stack is open source. Okay, so that means that whatever new players want to come in, or if other countries want to apply, want to use India stack for themselves, they can easily. So there is no intellectual property barriers in their way. So the codes, the blueprints, everything is open source, and they can be readily used by anyone. All right. Now, if the DPI is doing all this, then it is very clear that the DPI will also aid in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So the most basic, the first Sustainable Development Goal is no poverty. And with a well-functioning DPI, we can ensure that financial inclusion is increased. We can ensure that the vulnerability of populations decrease. So suppose there is a crisis, there is a pandemic, as we just saw, then these people can be reached quickly, in a timeless manner, with less mistakes. So they have a better access to not only financial services but also to documents. Many times poor people do not have access to documentation. So that is also increased. Job creation is there. Secondly, the SDG goal of gender equality, SDG 5. This is also something that is promoted if you have a good functional DPI, because the DPI is able to reach women, and it increases their their understanding, so it increases their access as well as their understanding of financial products, of documents. Okay, so it reduces their dependence on the male members of the family. Financial products, documents, they also have more agency for their own money. So if they have their own bank account and they get money into their own bank account rather than cash, which can be easily taken away, then they get more agency to handle their own money. Okay, so it also promotes gender equality. Now SDG 13, which is decent work and economic growth. This is also promoted. For example, just we discussed the GEM portal. So with the GEM portal, even small players can enter the market and sell their products. Even the open source feature of DPI means that new players can use the existing technology, use the existing codes and build their own new products or add to the stack of digital solutions that we already have. And as small players enter the market, they will experience economic growth. They will be able to access a larger market, larger consumer base, right? Better price discovery. There will be fairer competition and so on. Now, of course, these are the basic SDGs that are handled, that are aided by DPI, but SDGs in the health sector, SDGs in the education sector, all these will also be enhanced. So once you have the products, the digital products, once you have your infrastructure, you can develop new and new digital products that can be used in the health sector, that can be used in the education sector, that can be used in the climate sector, in the environmental sustainability sector, and so on. All right, so now having discussed everything good about DPI, let us also discuss the basic and the most important challenges that lie in this field. Okay, so we will not discuss them in a lot of detail, but I will give you an idea because it will involve a lot of technical terms for which we will require another video. But right now I will just give you an intuitive idea of what the basic or the major problems that lie in front of us and that are unfolding in front of us. The first one, of course, is data privacy and protection. Now, it is understandable that notwithstanding the ease, the hassle-free nature, the smooth operability, the interoperability, the scalability, right? The data exchange with consent, all these. Notwithstanding all of these terms, your and mine and national level data are available, are in the digital domain. And it becomes paramount to have a good data protection regime in place and to ensure data privacy. So if your financial information, if your health information, if other sensitive information about your biometric, about your demographic, that gets leaked, that can be very catastrophic, not only at the individual level, but also at the society level and at the national level. So it's the age of big data. Data is the new weapon that people have. Of course, everything works perfectly if we assume goodness and on part of everyone, if we assume that the systems function well, if we assume that there is no crisis coming ahead, that there are no there's no corruption, there's no breach, then things go hunky-dory. But of course, that doesn't happen in the real world, and we need to ensure that the privacy of data is maintained, that data is protected. And of course, for this, we cannot rely on the goodness of people. We have to build proper legal framework to address this. Legal framework as well as the technological framework, which doesn't which allows proper encryption, which allows data blind transfers like the AA. And we also need the legal and regulatory framework to ensure that this happens. So the recent debacle with Paytm, right? So one of the problems that they are facing is that they did not have a good, they were not complying with the regulatory framework of data protection, of data privacy. A lot of data was leaked, a lot of data was not protected. When we talk, if we talk about challenges in this detail, the Paytm would be a good example to learn about. This is the first problem. So data privacy and data protection is a big challenge, and many countries are coming up with their own legal and regulatory frameworks. We have some in place, but we do need to work better on it. Even the vulnerability of Aadhaar is time and again in the news, it keeps on coming up, and this is something that needs to be taken very seriously. The second major challenge is that data by itself, the nature of data, the nature of the digital world, it doesn't know any boundaries. It doesn't follow the national boundaries. So inherently, to have a proper regulatory framework, global level governance is required. So cooperation among different countries is like inexcusable. It has to be there. So this was one of the major things that was discussed during the G20 summit when it came to the DPI, and of course India takes a lead here, and all countries need to cooperate, because it can be that the physical infrastructure or the physical systems are separated between two countries physically, so they cannot flow from one country to another generally. So if you have different standards for roads, if you have different standards for licenses, that can work. If you have different, of course, electricity system, different payment systems, that can work. But where data is involved, the national boundaries are kind of become irrelevant. And therefore, if we are if we aspire to have a DPI that is open source, that is interoperable, and that is scalable, if whatever solution was applicable to India, that can be scaled up to any other country, that can be made interoperable. If you want the UPI to be interoperable between India and Singapore and India and other countries, a global set of rules and norms is required. And this is a major upcoming challenge. I mean, of course, people are already working on it, but this is something that needs to be taken care of. All right. So I discussed the challenges very briefly, because a detailed treatment would require another video. Right now, I will end here. I hope that your basic understanding of the digital public infrastructure is clear. Will you understand what it is, why it is required, what are the three basic pillars, and once you have those three pillars, how the other digital products come up, and how this entire ecosystem is beneficial. But at the same time, challenges remain, and these challenges need to be addressed. All right, so that's it from my side. I will see you in the next video.